So what's your name?
Gabe Thomas.
And when were you here?
I started in 1958 and I left in about 1966.
So did you board at the school or did you?
Yeah, I was a boarder.
What were the teachers like when you were here? Were there particularly memorable ones?
Oh yes. Academically, I think they were all pretty much excellent. But there was quite an odd bunch. There were quite a number of them who'd suffered during the war. Some of them had shell shock. And it made life quite interesting sometimes. Donald Pugh, the sportsmaster, had been an analytical chemist. And apparently he was on bomb disposal or something during the war. And a bomb had gone up and he was very severely injured. And apparently he had metal plates in his skull. And he was never the same again. But he was the sportsmaster and junior chemistry.
So you were saying about sports, were you particularly into sports when you were here?
Not incredibly. I played junior rugby and then I went into cross-country running.
As a boarder, how did you find sort of the living here?
Spartan. It's about the best way to describe it. There were 50 boarders, apart from 3 dormitories and a boarder's dining room. There was no other accommodation for boarders. No lounges, nowhere to sit. If you wanted to sit somewhere in the evenings, you had to go into a classroom and sit on a desk.
What about the food?
Well, pretty diabolical really, especially for growing boys. Boys used to send home pieces of bacon to their parents in their letters as evidence of how bad the food was. I think the worst thing was the suppers, which was cocoa made with water and no sugar, and a piece of bread covered in some sort of white margarine. Not many takers for that.
Did you get into trouble much when you were here?
A few times. Nothing really very serious. I got caned probably about 6 times by the headmaster and dapped quite a lot by the boarding prefects. But only the masters or headmaster could actually give the cane, whereas prefects could give the dap. And there was a broken window in the corridor, and when somebody was getting the cane, you could look through this broken window straight into the headmaster's study and watch the punishment. And of course there was always a huge gang of boys fighting to get to this peephole to see what was happening.
So the headmaster when you were here, how was he?
Well, that was the Info Rees, an absolutely exceptional man. He was apparently one of the youngest headmasters in the country when he was appointed, just before the war. And tremendous personality, and the school reflected his personality. Very keen sportsman. He captained Wales at rugby. He was a classics scholar, so Latin was a big thing in the school. But just a huge personality and amazing character.
Do you have any, really memorable teachers that you sort of stand out in your mind?
Well, yes. I mean, there was Iolo Davis and Peter Cobb, who were both boarding masters. They lived in when I was here. Peter Cobb was intellectual and musical. He left eventually and went into the church. Iolo was a classicist, but he was very much involved in organising certain sports like cross-country running and things like that, and thoroughly threw himself into the life of the school. Amazing. Another favourite teacher of mine was Frank Palmer, who was the biology teacher. I did botany in the 6th form, and being a boarder, he let me have a key to the biology lab so I could work and study and do my homework there in the evenings. In those days I smoked a pipe, and so did he. And on a Friday afternoon he'd always make a point of showing me where he was leaving a small amount of tobacco for me to find over the weekend.